Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of She Talks Business with your one and only host, me, myself, and I. I'm here all by my lonesome today, but I have a great episode for you. This is going to be a new type of episode, and I'm going to do maybe one of these a month, and it's called My Take. And it's my take on things that I am reading that I find to be very interesting. I'm going to share what I liked about what I was reading, and then I'm going to give you my take. So, the first My Take episode is featuring Noah Kagan's new book, Million Dollar Weekend, and it is a great book. So, let me give you a little background. Noah Kagan, I would like to say I know him, but I don't. Alan knows him, Alan Weiss, who I co-wrote my last book with, and Noah actually wrote an endorsement for our book, even though I have never met Noah myself. So thanks, Noah, if you're listening to this episode. I appreciate that you did that. So when I saw that Noah had written his own book, I wanted to get a copy for a couple of reasons. One, I believe in the law of reciprocity. He said nice things about our book, so I wanted to read his book and I wanted to see, what was going on out there. But when I read the book, or when I read the description of the book, the surprisingly simple way to launch a 7-figure business in 48 hours, I kind of thought it was probably just for people in startup mode and maybe not for people who have a seasoned business, who have been around for a while. So I went into reading this book with curiosity more than expectations. And there's an interesting thing that happens in life. When you are curious versus have expectations, you are rarely disappointed. And I was not disappointed. I was pleasantly surprised by this book. So let me talk to you a little bit about this book. There's a lot of things that I really, really, really liked about this book. And so I'm going to share what those things were with you. And then I'm going to share why I liked what I liked about it. The first thing that I really liked about this book, interestingly enough, is at the very, very beginning of the book, there is a list of frequently made excuses. And being that I have coached and supported business owners for, oh my goodness, almost 2 decades now, I feel like I could write a book on frequently made excuses myself because I have heard so many of them. What I loved about what Noah did, though, is he made a list of, I think there's 10 of them. Yeah, 10 at the very start of the book. And I thought this was a really super smart thing to do. So this is my take. I thought it was super smart because when you read that list of 10, you see yourself in at least one of the excuses, if not many of the excuses. When that happens, based on how he wrote the list of excuses, so I'm going to give you an example here. I don't have enough time to create a business. Look for the process you can automate or document parts of the business so you can hire someone to help. My productivity system, bracket, chapter 9, allows me to run an 8-figure business. See what he did there? He gave you the excuse and then he linked to where he was going to overcome the excuse later in the book and gave you the specific chapter where he would do that. So you see yourself in the excuse, and then it makes you wonder how to overcome the excuses. And if you see yourself in multiple excuses, it kind of sort of makes you want to be the kind of person that doesn't really have that many excuses in your life, I think. So I loved starting the book out this way. Instead of having a bunch of promises, you're going to get this, and this from this book, which is the standard and boring way to do it, he did the exact opposite. He started with the list of excuses that people have, or the list of excuses, let's just call them what they are, excuses that people have. And you've all heard me say this before, the best excuse is the worst excuse because it's the one you believe. And so John Maxwell said that, and I believe that excuses are the one thing that can really trip us up in life. So seeing how Noah laid them out, seeing how he paved a clear path to how to overcome the excuses through the content that he written in the book, I thought that was really, really, really smart. The second thing that I liked about this book was the simple start. And so the simple smart start was pretty straightforward. 1, find a problem. 2, solve the problem. 3, validate the idea that you have for a business without spending a dime. So let me tell you my take on this and why I liked it so much. One, most people have ideas that don't solve problems. Most people start a new business with an idea, but they're not actually thinking about the value or the problem that it solves for their buyer. They're thinking about the thing that they want to do, and typically they're thinking about the thing they want to do that they think will help them make money versus thinking about their buyer and the problem that they can actually solve. The other reason that I like this is most people spend money before selling an idea. And I have seen this happen over and over and over again. I've seen people spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars perfecting something before they even know if they have one buyer. So I love this. Find the problem, solve the problem, validate the idea without spending a dollar. Validate the idea means that you can validate that somebody will buy it, not that you can validate that somebody says it's a good idea, but you can validate it in a way that helps you to know whether or not it's going to be viable. One of my long-standing beliefs has always been if you can't sell something without a sales page, you probably don't have an idea worth selling. And so what Kagan does in this book is he gives you all kinds of shortcuts to sell stuff through emails and messages and just simple ways to get your idea in front of somebody and get them to actually spend money without you needing to spend money to do that. And I think that is a super smart way to start a business. And then number four, people are afraid to ask people to buy. And because they are so afraid to ask somebody to buy, it actually gets in the way of starting or it delays the start. And what I mean by that is they think starting is putting together all the fancy website and the fancy business plan and the perfect social media marketing strategy and the perfect set of YouTube videos and the perfect series of podcast episodes. They're so worried about everything being perfect that they've missed the number one thing. And the number one thing is you don't have a business if you don't have a customer. Plain and simple. You do not have a business until you have a customer. So why not make the main thing and go get a customer? And this is exactly what Noah talks about in the book, which I absolutely love. The third thing that I like is the book is broken into 3 sections, basically start, build, grow. And each of those sections has very pragmatic and tactical things that you can actually do to start, build, and grow your business. And I really like that because there's not a lot of fluff in there. And a lot of us think that starting is way more complicated than it needs to be. And I think Noah does a really nice job of breaking this down and really showing you how to go from 0 to $1 with your idea, and then from $1 to 100,000, how to figure out whether it is $1 million viable, and then how to get there. And I really, really like the simplicity of his approach. The fourth thing that I think is really, really good in his book is he offers a lot of free journal. He offers a free journal. He offers scripts, templates, and more, all at milliondollarweekend.com. So not only does he offers it at the very, very start of the book. At the very start of the book, right after the list of excuses, he's got another section called Start Here. And at the end of Start Here, he's got this little blurb. You can see it right here if you're watching the video, and there's a QR code, and that's where you can go to get all the free stuff. So here's my take. Most people do this in their book, but they don't do it intentionally, or they bury the lead. They put it at the very end of the book. Well, I'm here to tell you something. I'm an anomaly. I'm an anomaly because I typically read a book from cover to cover. Most people never read past chapter 2. That is a statistically proven fact. Most people never make it past chapter 2. And so if you've got all this wonderful free stuff and it's buried in chapter 5 or 6 or 7 or at the back of the book, nobody knows because you buried it. So I love that he puts it right at the very beginning and he makes it fun. He makes it interesting. It's not about one thing. It's about a whole bunch of things. There's a QR code. So if you're sitting here reading and you want to scan it with your phone, you can do that. And then he continues to refer to the scripts and the templates and the tools and the journal all the way throughout the book. In every single chapter, he gives you some type of a tool and refers to where you can go to download a full copy of the tool so that you can actually do the thing that he says to do. Because he set the stage at the very, very beginning, and then he repeats it throughout the book, it actually makes you want to have the free stuff. And the reason that that's a good thing is he's building his mailing list. So he's building his mailing list through a bunch of people that are interested in what he wrote about in his book. And if he were to turn this book into a course, which I think he already has, now he's got an audience of people that are already very interested in what he's doing. And he's got these really great free resources that people can use that are very practical and applicable to starting a business. The other thing that I like is that he models what he tells you to do. So when you're reading through the book and he tells you, for example, um, there's a part in there's another section I'm going to talk about the challenges in the book. So on page 31, he talks about the coffee challenge. Go to any coffee shop or any place in person, make a simple purchase and ask for 10% off. Don't say anything else. The whole point is for you to feel uncomfortable because we all need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then what he does is he gives you an exact script that you can use. And he does this repeatedly throughout the book. Scripts of things you can say, scripts of things you can write, scripts of ads you can use, all kinds of really easy stuff. And he encourages you to use what he shares and just tweak it so that it fits you. And so I thought that all of those templates that he shared and the way that he shared them and the way that he positions the examples of how he did it in combination with the actual template. So it's like, here's what I did. Here's the template. Go here and get the template and write out your own script. It makes you want to go get the template and do the work to get started. So I thought that was really, really smart. The next thing that I liked is he talks about how he was employee number 30 at Facebook and he got fired from Facebook. And what I like about that, my take on that is that we all have stuff that's happened to us in life that is not pleasant. Getting fired from Facebook when you're employee number 30 and you had stock options and Facebook is now worth what it's worth is like, that's huge. That's a huge loss of revenue because you were employee number 30. But here's the thing, when we tell people our not so great stories, people like us more because people like to know that things weren't easy. When I tell people that I'm a high school dropout, people are like, really? Seriously? You're a high school dropout? Like, how did you build the life and business you have today if you're a high school dropout? That story makes people curious about you and it makes you more relatable because people now see you as somebody who actually had to work hard to get to where you are. You know, Noah has built the business AppSumo. I don't know if you've ever bought from AppSumo. I've bought from AppSumo many times, but it is an 8-figure business. It does exceptionally well. And so in spite of being fired when he was employee number 30 at Facebook, in spite of trying a bunch of things that didn't work, he's now built a really, really, really successful business and he's teaching other people how to do the same. So I like that because I think that the thing that you're afraid to tell people about your backstory related to business is probably the thing that they would respect you for the most. The other thing I liked were the challenges. So throughout the book, there's a ton of different challenges, and these challenges are geared towards skill development. So there's the give me $1 challenge where you have to ask somebody to invest $1 in your business. That helps you to build up your courage. There is the give me a discount challenge that I just talked about. That helps you build your rejection muscle. And then there's the 48-hour money challenge where he challenges you to generate $1,000 in profit in 48 hours. Asking people to actually give you money is a lot different from asking people, would you buy this? People say they're going to do a lot of things, but they rarely follow through on what they say they're going to do. You know, I can't tell you how many people I've heard say they're going to give up gluten, and then the next time I see them, they're still eating gluten. Doing something is harder than saying you will do it. And so when Noah puts this challenge together for you to actually go out there and get paying customers and generate $1,000 in profit, there's a method to his madness. And I love it. I mean, my take is he's setting you up for a series of really simple challenges that create a little bit of discomfort, but not so much discomfort that you stop. And those challenges are layered from, relatively easy to a little bit more uncomfortable to a little bit hard to even harder. And that's what business is like. It's easy to start with your pretty idea before you've got a customer, but it's a lot harder to keep doing all the things you need to do in order to have a business that is actually worth growing, a business that actually pays you the way you want to be paid. So I love that he created a series of challenges. I love that he did it from um, easy to difficult in terms of degrees. And I also love that he modeled what he talks about. So in the chapter where he is telling people to go to a coffee shop and ask for a discount, he then parlays that into asking you to write a review for his book right in the chapter. And then he talks about it as a teaching point of why you need to ask people to do things and why you need to get comfortable asking and you need to get comfortable with rejection. So just like I talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, where I said I was pleasantly surprised because I had no expectations. When you don't have expectations of people saying yes, and you're willing to just put yourself out there and keep asking, you have a far greater likelihood of being successful than the person who's afraid to hear no. So go build that muscle of courage and build that muscle around resilience, and you could do pretty much anything. Um, the next thing I really liked were the scripts. So throughout the book, he's got all the different random email templates that he used. There's an example of him reaching out to the founder of Reddit for how he started AppSumo. And, what I like about this is that he gives you the exact scripting, but he just shows how genuine, sincere, and easy it can be. There's no trickery. There's no sales script follow step 3 through 78 to get somebody to open your email. It's all things that anybody can do. And I think that's what is the most fascinating thing about business is it's all things anybody can do if you're just willing to put the reps in. And just like the challenges go from varying degrees of easy to difficult, your business is going to be like that too. Not every day is easy. There are days that are difficult. Not every employee is easy. Some are difficult. Not every customer is easy. Some are difficult. Not every system you put in place is easy. Some are really difficult. Not every automation, software, technology decision that you make is easy. Most are difficult. So when you learn how to do hard things, you become better at running your business because hard things stop scaring you. And so I love that he makes it look easy in terms of the way that it's presented, but then he gives you the way to actually apply it, which ups the ante a little bit and makes it a little bit more difficult. Um, 3 more things that I liked. One, he talks a lot about your freedom number. I'm a big fan of the freedom number, figuring out exactly how much money you need to be free. What's his name? Morgan Housel talks about this in The Psychology of Money. And, from my perspective, your freedom number, your real freedom number is not how much money you need to make to get by every day. Your real freedom number is how you invest your business money or your wealth to make the money you need to get by so you never have to work another day. In the book, Noah talks about the freedom number as what is the minimum viable amount of money you need to make in order to cover your bills so that you could actually quit your job to focus on this long term. And I think that's one of the things that people don't look at. They don't look at the numbers. And Noah does a lot of math in this book, which I like in terms of, breaking down how to figure out if it's a viable business at $1 million in terms of figuring out whether or not you can actually make $1 million in profit and how many customers you need to do that. So there is some really basic math in this book, but I love that he does that because he's also making it, again, very, very tangible for people. You know exactly how many customers you need to make $1 million in profit. You know exactly how much money you need to be able to quit your job. You know exactly how much money you need to pay all of your bills on a monthly basis. I love all of that stuff. And then, the other thing that he talks about that I thought was great is speed of execution. You know, we all waste way too much time trying to figure out what step we should take first. We get stuck in analysis paralysis. He built AppSumo in 48 hours. And he talks about how he did it in this book. And AppSumo now, I don't know if it's a 65 or an $85 million company a year, but it does pretty big money. And he built it in 48 hours. And he says there's really no business plan required. It's like a 1-minute business plan. So again, simplifying what it takes. It's not, we complexify so many things. Even Dan Sullivan says you need to simplify to multiply, but we add and add and add and add and add, and we make things so damn complicated when really, if you just simplify and start and get over your fear of rejection, you can move the needle in your business so much faster than you realize. He talks a lot about, I realize I have way more things written down here. He talks about than three, sorry. He talks about proof of concept. If you can't get the first dollar, you might not have a viable business idea. If you're not willing to ask people to be your customer to get the first 1,000 in 48 hours, you might not have the courage to be an entrepreneur. And if you're spending a ton of money at the start before you even have any customers, chances are you're a perfectionist and you are stuck in insecurity. And I love that he shines the light on all of that stuff around limitations that people have to getting started, because there's so many people out there with great ideas that are dying a slow death because they're afraid. And you're no worse off. So you ask somebody if they want to buy something from you and they say no. How are you worse off than you are right now? You're not. So the only way to have an upside is by actually having the courage to try. And so I encourage you, stop being so afraid of offending somebody, bothering somebody, upsetting somebody, or hearing the word no. I talked about numbers. So he does this thing called the 1-minute business plan. And basically he breaks down, is it $1 million opportunity? So he gets you to look at Google Trends, the size of the market, the cost of the product, the total value. And then there's a formula that you use to calculate, is it $1 million idea or not? Plain and simple. So when you do that math, you know right away whether or not the size of the market and the cost of your product is large enough for you to generate $1 million in sales. And then he gets you to look at your business model and take your revenues minus the cost of doing business to calculate your profit on a per unit basis, and then take $1 million divided by that profit per unit sold to calculate exactly how many customers you need. I am a really big fan of simple math like this. My take is that when you know exactly how many customers you need to hit the goal that you have in your business, all of a sudden, it's like so simple. It's like you are dialed in on exactly what you need. When I've done webinars, I put this chart up where I show people how many customers you need to make $1 million depending on your price point. And to me, the simplest thing you can do, is simplify your pricing and then know exactly what you need to hit the number that you aspire to have in your business, not only from a sales perspective, but from a profit perspective. Excuse me. All right. The next thing I liked is marketing experimentation. He talks about making a list of marketing efforts that lead to sales and then measuring the expected versus the actual outcome. So, I've been down this road, and here's my take. We all think that the easy button is going to be easy. And sometimes the easy button is the thing that is not hard, that is not going to get you anywhere. I remember being approached one time by an organization that had a huge, huge, huge reach. And that organization was going to help me build like millions of dollars in my business until it didn't. And it's because The organization, while it had huge reach, it did not have huge conversion. And so sometimes what we do is we look for the easy button. We want to hang our hat on somebody else's red wagon and we think that they're going to fix our problems. And that's just not true. You need to pay attention to the effort and the reward. And if you don't measure it, you don't actually know what works. So if you put a post on Facebook and you put a post on LinkedIn and you put a post on Instagram and you send the same message out on your mailing list, are you actually tracking which of those 4 distribution channels helped you get a sale? Did any of them help you get a sale? Because when you know what distribution channel is actually going to help you get the sale, then you can double down and do more of that. This is one of the things that I taught in the strategy lab for years. Know where the business comes from and do more of what helps you get the business. I know for me, public speaking helps me get business. Every single time I go to an event and I have some type of an opportunity to speak, I get customers. So, do I like to do public speaking? If it's the right audience for what I do, you betcha, because I know it works. But there are other people out there that maybe they're not so effective on stage. Maybe they get really nervous on stage. Maybe they can't convey a story or they can't teach in a way that inspires people to want to buy. That may not be their thing. Maybe they get sales from their podcast. Who knows? But if you don't pay attention to where the sale came from, if you're not asking your customers, where did you hear about me? Where did you find out about this? You're missing an opportunity to know what marketing is working. And when you don't know what marketing is working, it makes it really hard for you to do more of what works. And if you can't do more of what works, you can't scale as easily as you could if you understood what was really working. The last 2 things are, 1, make your existing customers happier. So my take, and you've heard me say this for years, is that retention is key. Retaining your customers long-term, expanding revenues with your existing clients is one huge way to protect your revenue and grow your business. Because if you can protect your revenue base from year after year after year, then you can grow incrementally on top of that revenue base. But if you're churning and burning clients all the time, it's like you're starting from 0 every year. So I'm a huge fan of monthly recurring revenue and retention of customers long-term. One of the questions that Noah asks in the book that I think is really, really smart is, how would you double your business if you could not get any new customers? And the 2 things that he talks about, one is kind of new customers, but I still like what he talked about, is 1 is retention and 2 is referrals. Asking your existing customers to refer people to you. And a lot of us don't do that. I'm really, really bad at that. I don't ask people who they know that would benefit from the work that I do. Heck, I don't even ask you, who do you know that would actually like this podcast? Could you share it for me? I never ask you to do that. So if you've been listening to the 100 plus episodes that we've recorded and you think this would be valuable to someone else, could you share it? Could you tell them? That would help me. We got to get comfortable doing that, especially women. Us women are afraid to ask other women to help us, but the guys do it all the time. It's like, hey, bro, can you help me do this? Hey, dude, could you mail your list this? And they all say yes to each other. But us women are like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the right fit. We need to become a little bit more generous in terms of how we show up and share, especially for the people that we know, like, and trust. I'm not talking about Joe Blow stranger who comes knocking on your door. I'm not talking about the person who hears me on somebody else's podcast and then sends me an email on LinkedIn asking me if we can connect so that we can collaborate because they want to do business with my audience. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that you have a trusted relationship with and you know that it is a win-win-win. It's a win for you, it's a win for them, and it's a win for your audience. Help those people. Last but not least, the final chapter of his book really resonated with me. I made it and I still feel like shit. So this book is really, when he talks about here, he's like, I finally made it. The business is doing 4 million a year. I was paying myself 150. I had everything that I wanted, but like something just wasn't right. And I can relate to that. I can relate to what it's like to grow, and not worry about money, but then suddenly feel a little bit unfulfilled. And so reading this chapter was really enlightening to me. And I'm so glad that I got to the very last chapter of the book and finished it, because what I realized, my insights, my take on this particular chapter is don't create a job for yourself when the reason you started a business was because you wanted to have more freedom in your life. Pay attention to what you're doing to put yourself in a box. Because if you're a creative entrepreneur, being in that box is going to kill your spirit. It is the creativity of doing new things, creating new things, pitching new things, trying new things that jazzes you. So don't listen to all the people who are shoulding all over you to create systems and structure that stop you from doing the very thing that brings you joy. Pay attention to what you really want. My husband recently asked me a question about something, and I had to really think about it. What did I want? We're doing something right now, and he wanted to know, what do I want to get out of this thing that we're doing? And I had to really think about it. And then I thought about it, and I put together a list, and I sent it to him. These are the things that I want. So spend some time really paying attention to what you want. Noah talks about work, health, personal travel. Make a dream list of what you want for your life. Make a dream list every year. You might not get to everything on your dream list, but you may get to some of it. And that's the stuff that jazzes you. There's no point in growing a successful business if you're no longer having fun doing it. And then lastly, and I'm a big fan of this, he talks about this in the book, match your calendar to the life you want. If your calendar is not aligned with doing the things that you want to do, you're not going to do them because you're going to forget about them. I have a label maker, and I've got stuff written and stuck to the bottom of my computer monitor that I don't want to forget this year, because every day when I come and sit down at my desk, I can see those things. One of the things that I've written down to help me be a better leader is give 51% ownership, ask more questions, wait 24 hours to respond to emails. Because those are things that I know my team wants from me. I know that, sorry, my allergies are so bad today. I know that my team wants me to give them ownership and empower them and let them take charge of projects and initiatives. And so I'm trying really hard not to be the control freak or the perfectionist that has to be involved in everything. And I know that my team would rather me ask more questions and let them figure the solution out themselves than always be the person that knows what the answer is and tell them what to do. And then lastly, I know that sometimes I am way too quick to respond to client emails, and it makes my team feel like I didn't give them a chance to be the hero first. And so I wrote those things down on a sticky and put it on my computer so that I'm reminded of it every day. If you have things on your dream list that you want to accomplish this year, but you don't put it anywhere, you will forget. So put it someplace where you can see it. The last thing I want to say about this book is when I was reading this book, I actually started doing some of the exercises. I didn't learn anything from this book that I probably don't already know or haven't already heard. But what you know and what you say you will do is not the same as what you actually do. And why I'm most grateful for this book is it rekindled some creativity for me. It made me actually get curious about different things that I can do in my business or different businesses that I could start. And it brought me back to beginner mind. If I was going to start something new and I was going to do this or that, how would I do it? And that is exciting. That is exhilarating. That makes you feel alive again as an entrepreneur. So pay attention to the stuff that lights you up and makes you feel good. Because if you've created so much structure in your business that you're now operating inside of a box and you're not feeling as passionate and excited and driven and motivated and inspired about the business you started, chances are it's because you've got yourself doing stuff that are not in your zone of genius. And those things that you're doing should be done by somebody else so that you can do the thing that only you can do and that you are great at. So that's my take. It's great. This is a great book. I recommend reading it. We will put the link to where you can buy the book on Amazon in the show notes. And if you like this little podcast recap on a book, my take on a book, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. And if you buy the book, make sure you tag Noah and let him know that you bought the book because you heard me talk about the book. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.